So, our quest for success. So for our senior project, we decided that we wanted to start a project-based learning abroad program in Bangkok, Thailand at an international school. And before we even had this idea though, the idea kind of submerged from about 4 years ago when I was a freshman in high school at Manor New Tech. So about 4 years ago, I had just only been going to New Tech for about a couple of months, and my parents were already like seeing the results of how joining a project-based learning school was affecting me and my skills and my personality. Like, I was able to speak in front of crowds more, and I used to be really shy back then. And I was able to work better with people because of my collaboration skills. And so, you know, my parents really started to admire the school and admire what the school represents. And you know what parents do when they really love something, they brag and talk about it nonstop. That was my dad. Every single person that he talked to, whenever I would come in the conversation, always talk about Manor New Tech and always talk about PBL. And he would say, yeah, Manor New Tech, it's such a great school, I love it so much. I love how they're using computers instead of like textbooks and things like that. And so one day when he was actually talking with someone at a religious organization that he volunteered at, that person was really interested in it, and he had actually said, oh, well, right now I'm working on this really big project in Bangkok, Thailand, where in 5 to 6 years we're going to open up this large university, and I think that we want like something like project-based learning to be how the students learn. And this is going to be a couple years down the road, but hopefully whenever we open it up, maybe you can come over and like show them how to get everything started and just kind of transition them from a traditional learning system to project-based learning. And of course that was way down the line, like probably even 2 years from now, and it's still not even done yet. So that was kind of just always a thought in my head, but I never actually approached it because it wasn't done yet. And then the next year around, my sophomore year, we had a family emergency in Thailand, and my dad had to go back for about a month. And he wanted me to go with him because, you know, my mom would always work at nighttime, so I would really be home alone if I stayed at home. And so he told me, well, you know, try to ask your principal, see if you can go to Thailand with us and see if we can work something out for your class and your schoolwork. And so I did. I talked to principals of KISS, and I asked him, well, is this possible? Can I go to Thailand with my dad? And he said, yeah, it's possible because, you know, we have ECHO, which is our school's portal where we have everything, like all of our lessons and all of our activities that we submit to. And there's also like Skype and Facebook and other social media. So I would be able to work with my group members while I'm abroad and halfway across the world. And that being said, he was like, wait a minute, why don't we make it into something really big, like a whole new project? We'll be the first people out of the New Tech Network to do this. You can go over there and just document like your experiences in Thailand and how you were still able to get your work done. But unfortunately, that never happened because as soon as I got the okay, I told my dad, and all the tickets were sold out. So in the end, I was home alone for like a month, but it was okay. And both of these project ideas kind of stuck with me throughout the years. I always wanted to do them, but I wasn't able to do any of them. So then I thought, well, senior project, senior year, why don't I combine the two and make the project-based learning abroad program and do that as my senior project.
So during junior year, Fa told me about her senior project, how she was going to Thailand, she was traveling in general, and I thought like, oh, traveling is cool. I'd love to do that. And I was on board. I was kind of didn't know what the project was like, or our made to go put me in. But the reason it was kind of like a little situation was because my parents didn't trust me enough. You know, I was a junior, I was 16 at the time. I was immature, you know, and my parents were like, we don't trust you, you know, to go to Thailand. And, you know, we had to kind of sort with that dilemma. Now, during the summer, Fa and I, we were basically brothers and sisters. We did everything during the summer. We went to ACC, we went to Hospice Compasses. We did everything. We volunteered. We're, you know, just bros. And yeah, we're connected. And the more I was with Fa, I got to learn more about senior project. She told me what she was doing. She wanted PBL and she wanted to put it inside a school in Thailand. And I was like, okay, that's really cool. And I told my parents, not only does it benefit me, it also benefits the school. It benefits me because I get to go travel abroad and learn a new culture and see what it is. And the school could get recognition, showing what PBL is and how we can implement it from there into a school in Thailand. So my parents were like, okay, you're a senior now, and we trust you. So me and Fa, we are ready to go. We are ready set. And senior projects, we are kind of ready to go. So senior year comes in, and day 1, day 2, me and Fa, we just hit it. We talked to Mr. B and our former teacher, Ms. Bailey, that we want to go to Thailand. We want to show them PBL and Thailand, but we didn't know exactly how to show them this within the duration of 2 weeks. And Ms. Bailey was like, well, why don't you just create a lesson plan? And we were thinking about right, that makes sense, having a lesson plan, showing them what PBL is in a short amount of time, 2 weeks. And so what we're going to do for the project was we were going to have 10 members here of New Tech, 10 seniors, and 10 students there, and we were going to split up into 4 groups. The 4 groups were math, science, history, and language. And what we were going to have them do is, at the end, do what we usually do in PBL, create a presentation, create a PowerPoint, and we were going to have the different learning outcomes that we have here at New Tech and what we have there at the school in Thailand.
And before we could do that, since we now knew what we wanted to do and how we wanted to conquer that goal, our next step was to actually get a school to get on board with that. So in order to contact different schools to kind of join our project, we made a large packet full of things like 2 proposals. The first proposal is right here, and it was a really detailed proposal stating who we were, what Manor New Tech was, what was PBL, what are the impacts, and what the project was in full detail, in case they had any other questions. But that proposal actually came out to be 7 to 8 pages long, so we had to create another one, which was just only 1 page, and it had the material specifically what we would need from the school and what the project was about. And in addition to those documents, we had a few more because, in our proposal we had terminology such as rubrics, entry documents, presentations, and just in case they didn't understand what those meant, because they're not a PBL school, we included these. Thank you from Ms. Archarida, she helped us with that. It was from our past projects in our junior year and samples of things that we did, and we put those together and sent it off to them. And after 2 to 3 weeks, we actually got some good news from a school in Bangkok, Thailand called the Ramkhamhaeng Advent International School, called ARIS. And this school was actually my cousin's old high school, so she kind of acted as the middleman for us, and she would always present our things that we wanted to tell the school in person to them and the principal there. And so that was really good to have that connection. And they were totally on board with the project. They said, oh yeah, this is a really good idea. We'd love to do this with you. And they were really, really flexible, which is something that we really needed at this time since we didn't know when we were going to leave or how everything would work out yet. We just needed their okay first. So they just said, just give us 3 days in advance, and then we'll get everything set up for you, like your classroom, your students, and everything like that, and everything would be good. So that was great.
So now we have a set foundation. We know the school we're going to go to. We know what we're going to do with our lesson plan. So obviously the next step is fundraising. Miss Bailey and Mr. B last year did a thing called crowdfunding, and what crowdfunding is you go on your website and you set up a cause and how much money you want to raise, and people with social media can like it, they can donate money. And they did this last year with roller derby, and it was an instant hit. So you're like, okay, so let's try it out. Let's see what we can do and how much money we can raise. And so we tried that. We set our amount of money and what we wanted to accomplish, and we set it up on crowdfunding, but unfortunately we didn't get a dime out of it. We got no money, but we weren't mad at anything. We knew that this was going to be a hard obstacle to try. So our next step was sponsors. For those of you that have tried getting sponsors, getting sponsors is really hard because you're just calling companies day by day, telling them what you want to do, and if they like it, they'll take it. If not, they won't take it. They say, oh no, we don't have your money, or we don't have money, or no, we can't do it at this time. And me and Paul were on the phone for 6 to 12 weeks. We kept on calling every day. We called every company that we possibly could, and they just said no. But the problem is that we were contacting companies that weren't in our field. We actually had a potential sponsor. It was an oil company in Austin, and they're like, oh right, that sounds really cool. We would love to help you in your senior project. And we're like, oh, that's cool. We might have a potential sponsor. But a week later, they declined our project because they said, sorry, it's not in our field, which is their field was environmental. And so we were like, okay, why don't we try education? Why do we call education? Why do we call universities and see if they could help us? And unfortunately, still, they couldn't help us. We still didn't get any money. So now we're a little bit stuck. We don't know exactly what to do. And me and Paul like, why don't we just try and make this bigger? Why don't we call, newscast, news reporters and see if we can possibly make this even more bigger? And we started calling CNN, KBUE, KUT, and actually KUT took our offer. They gave us a report on it, and it went big. You don't understand. Like the next day, it went huge. Like the next day, we're walking down, the zip just comes out of nowhere, and it was like, did you hear about the article that happened? And he was just tripping out, flipping out, saying, all my friends would tell me, oh yeah, students going to Thailand, that's so cool. And juniors, seniors, freshmen, sophomores are like, oh, are you guys going to Thailand? Like, I hope you make it. And it just got big, it got huge, everybody knew about it, so we're like, yes, finally, we might actually get some money, but still, unfortunately, we didn't receive any money.
So then at this point, we were definitely just kind of on a huge mind block. We were like, how come everything that we try is not working out for us? It's like somebody was just out there trying so hard to get us to not go to Thailand and do this project. And so we realized, well, maybe we'll try another approach again. And so we did. And we did a physical fundraiser at school. And so for our first fundraiser that we did, it was kind of like a one-for-one thing. And so we decided, well, if people are going to spend their hard-earned cash on us to fly out to Thailand, well, we might as well give back to the community in Thailand and kind of not make it like a one-side selfish thing. And so for every $5 someone donated to us, we would donate 1 pack of pencils to a school in Thailand who was suffering from poverty or just the flooding that was happening in Asia at the moment. And a lot of people were really interested in that idea. They said, oh, that's such a good cause, that's really nice. But still, no one donated anything. So that just kind of blew out in the water. And then at that point, again, we didn't know what to do anymore because we tried a physical fundraiser, it didn't work out. And then it was until about another couple of weeks after that, it was a time for seniors to do senior pictures because, graduation is soon and everything like that. And so a lot of my friends would come up to me and tell me, oh, can you take my senior pictures? Because I have a hobby for photography. And I was like, okay, sure. And then it's like as one person just asked me, soon everyone was just asking me for senior pictures. And then I kind of got an idea, well, why don't I do that as a fundraiser? And we did. It was the high school portraits, Manor New Tech high school portraits fundraiser, and it was a huge success. As you can see, we took many, many people's pictures, and most of the money that we raised right now, it was from this fundraiser actually. And we had people from the other high school and from even other school districts and just in the Manor communities reserving times back to back just to take pictures with us. And I mean, the good thing about it was a really cheap pictures. Instead of paying $600 at the high school, to go into a studio and then just take plain pictures, and they're not even that good anyway. So decided this is a great opportunity. It was $5 for 3 pictures or for $10, and so it was a really big success. But it's as soon as we reached that peak where we were finally earning some cash, we had another problem, and that was time. Time was definitely our enemy at this point. At this point, we had about 2 or 1 month left of school, and we realized, honestly, we're not going to be able to do this project because missing 2 to 3 weeks of school when we barely have that much time left is really going to hurt our schoolwork. And also, we realized this is probably not going to happen. So we had to face that truth and decide to either 1, leave senior projects totally, or 2, start over completely, or even see to just make the project shorter. But we knew that we couldn't make the project shorter because 2 weeks was already short enough for such a big project in Thailand. And we knew that we didn't want to quit because we had come so far already and we were finally making progress. So we didn't want to quit on that. So we decided to just start over and replan everything.
This is the motto of Sam Houston State University. The measure of life is at its service. And what it means is volunteering, and knowing me and Fa always is down to volunteering. She's always volunteering, you know, at a hospital, at school, anywhere she can find, get her hands on, she'll volunteer. And with me, I love to volunteer at my church all the time. I love them. I always do, and I'm usually helping Fa. She'll sometimes just drag me into her, you know, her service, and I'm just like, okay, but you know, I love doing it with her. It was pretty fun. I loved it. So now we kind of have like a base connection. Okay, so we both like volunteering. What can we do? What can we do in this new project to help volunteer? And we came up with the idea to travel abroad to Thailand and volunteer there.
And this project was actually really perfect for us because, you know, to volunteer you don't need like 3 weeks. Instead, you can do it however long you wanted. And so we decided we would go during the first week of May or around the beginning of May for 1 week to volunteer and kind of like document that process and document our experiences there. And this was really good because we still wanted to put the PBL into the project, so we decided, well, we'll make a documentary about how, you know, not only are we students from a project-based learning school, we're stepping outside of our school and even outside of the country to go to another country and really use those skills that we have learned, such as communication. We're talking to people in different countries, different languages, and then collaboration. We're working with them to achieve a goal, to volunteer with them, and to help people. And so this is really good to show how PBL can help you after your school years or if in the real world after graduation. And so it was a really good idea. And the organization that we decided to volunteer at was called the Archarida Babies Home, and it was located in Bangkok, Thailand, and it was a children's orphanage. But it wasn't a regular children's orphanage. It was an orphanage for babies and children who suffered from mental paranoia of strangers. And so they're really volunteer-based because of the fact that these babies, when they're put into the homeless shelter and the orphanage, they're so scared of strangers that it's going to be hard for them to get adopted. So they get like volunteers from all around the world and all around the country to come in and play with these babies every day and take care of them so that one day they can get over their fear and actually get adopted by a country. Oh, sorry. By a family. And sorry about that. And you know, it was a really good cause, and so it was a perfect idea for us. However, that again didn't even work out because a few weeks before I had twisted my ankle really bad. I'm still wearing a brace right now. And so I missed about like a week of school already, and that was already a lot. And if I had missed another week, it would have been the same thing as going to Thailand for the PBL project. And on top of that, Michael was actually sick twice that month, and so he was out for a long time as well. So putting that together, we honestly didn't want to risk our health and graduation at the same time, so we just did not go.
So now, reaching a stop, you know, we were running out of time. Time was our enemy. We didn't know what to do. So me and Paul decided we had 3 options. We had A, donate the money that we raised to a charity. B, donate to the school. Or C, continue on our senior project. And donating it to a charity was good, but what me and Paul wanted was like a hands-on experience. We wanted us to go to Thailand, you know, hands-on, and feel like we actually did something. So we decided that we wanted to continue with senior project. We wanted to continue during the duration of our summer before our college year, and possibly go to Thailand and continue with our project.
And then so now the question was left with, what about the original idea, our PBL project? So what we decided to do was, the connections are still very much real and they're still there. Like we still have the school that wants to do the project. And even though we couldn't do it this year, we want to pass that down to Mr. B so that hopefully the next year, the juniors, or even the year after that, one day they can get this started and even go there and try to make this a possible dream for us. and all the people who wanted this to happen. And if we don't ever get to go this summer, we'll just put that money back towards senior projects so that they can kind of start with that money.
And so reflecting back, throughout this whole span of senior project, to me, I thought it was a success, even though, we had these failures in between. I thought it was a success because, we kept on trying. We didn't give up, and we're still not going to give up. We're going to keep on trying to raise the little bit of money that we have left to continue to go to Thailand. It was a really good experience for me, learning how to talk to people online in a professional manner, talk to them on the phone, learning, it takes patience, it takes time in order to get what you want, and if you're dedicated, you'll get it sooner or later.
And for me, I would also say this project was a success because even though, like Michael said as well, we failed many, many times, as you can see before, we still did so much and we tried our best. And even to have come so far and to be a part of something that was so big to not only the school and our community, but the New Tech network, that's a really big thing. And just to have gone through so many different processes so many times and still continue with it, that already itself is a big thing to me. And really, I'm just so thankful for getting the opportunity to be able to do it and try it, and still not even give up to see if we can even do this in the summer. But and to end this presentation, we would just like to say thank you to our teachers, Mr. V, and then also Ms. Bailey, who was our mentor in the past for senior projects, and Ms. Mobley, Ms. Archarida, Mr. Santos, and many other teachers who helped us with this long process, even 3 or 2 years ago. And then also to all of our friends who took the time to take pictures with us and kindly donated to our cause. And then also lastly to the senior projects class for always having our back and then giving us great feedback.
So now I guess we can open the floor to any questions or anything that you guys might have, and we can